Hi guys, it's Melissa from the Melmar Group, and today's video is my top 10 tips if you decide to visit Washington, D.C. So if you want to know more, stay tuned. So we had the opportunity this summer to go to Washington, D.C. My daughter was in a national competition, and so we decided we were going to make it our summer vacation. We were going to go. We stayed in D.C., I think 5 or 6 days, and then we went on to her competition in Maryland. And I did a ton of research before we went. You're never fully prepared, but I did a ton of research before we went, watched lots of videos, all sorts of things. And after being there are a few things that I learned that I did not learn from videos. So I wanted to share them with you. And if I ever go again, I probably would use some of these because, I learned about them. So I have a top 10 list, and I'm just going to read off of that. So the first tip I would give you is to plan early and be flexible with your dates. Now, in our situation, we didn't have that option. My daughter was in a competition. Those were set dates. We had the choice to go to DC before or after. We chose to go before because after would have been right around the 4th of July, which you can imagine what Washington, D.C. would be like. So I had to deal with the dates that we had, and that was fine. I do feel like we paid a little bit more than we should have because of when we went, because we were there the week before the 4th of July. And so that impacted our hotel, it impacted our airfare, all of that. So if I had had the option, I might have chosen to go at a different time. But if you can, try to have several flexible dates that you can work with. I will tell you, I have watched our hotel and some of the hotels in the area since we got back, and there's a huge swing in prices. I think a week or so ago, our hotel was $600 a night. When we were there, it was $250, and I've seen it go as low as $150. So there's a big swing in rates depending on what's going on. And I've also heard from different people that there's a lot of conventions, competitions, you've got all the government stuff going on, and they know that they can charge a premium depending on the time of the year. So those are all things to consider when you go. Okay, my second tip is figure out before you book a hotel or anything, what is it you want to do? Are you going to stay in the city? Are you just going to hang out at the Smithsonian's and the National Mall? Or are you wanting to go out in the countryside and see Monticello and Mount Vernon and Williamsburg and all of those things? Because that's going to dictate a lot of your choices. For us, we were trying to keep the costs down, and I knew that there was plenty to do in the city. So we chose not to rent a car, and we actually chose to stay in the city. And I appreciate that choice. I'm glad that we did. I now realize that there's another option that we could have done, but I'll get to that in a minute. But we planned to stay in the city, and we would try to group things together to do so that we could use the metro or whatnot. And so that helped me make my decision about where we were going to stay, because I knew I wanted a hotel with a pool. I wanted a hotel with a kitchen. I wanted a hotel with a free breakfast, and I wanted a hotel near the metro. And so we chose to stay in the Foggy Bottom area by George Washington University. And that was a really cool area. We stayed in probably what was an old apartment complex, but it had been turned into a hotel. And there were the brownstone homes, I don't know, are they condos, apartments, like brownstone buildings where people live around us, and there were a lot of grocery stores and restaurants and a lot of cultural things, and the metro was just a few blocks away. We saw a farmer's market and all sorts of things. So I was happy with our choice to stay there, and I'll get into a little bit more about why I was happy with that hotel. But that kind of dictated what we were doing. So we stayed in the city, we were near the metro so that we could go where we wanted to go and get there easily. Okay, now after saying that, I will tell you that because of that choice, we paid a little bit more for our hotel than if we had chosen to stay outside of the city. And I had read and heard that if you stayed outside the city, it was going to be really expensive for you taking the metro into the city, and you'd waste a lot of time. And I knew that our time was short, and so we chose to stay in the city. But I have to tell you, after I got to know the metro system, and after we traveled from Arlington, which is outside of the city, back into downtown, because we were at Arlington Cemetery, and then we traveled into downtown, it was only like 50 cents more a person each way on the metro to go that route, to go from outside the city into the city. And so for us, that would have been, what, $4 a day more? And I could have gotten a hotel in Arlington for a lot cheaper. So, and also the metro ride wasn't that long from Arlington to downtown. The metro is really fast, really efficient. And so, we could have probably saved $100 a night, maybe 75 to 100, for just $4 more a day riding the metro in. So do I regret staying in Georgetown? No, I loved it. It was great. I felt safe there. But one of the perks of staying outside in Arlington is it's right by Reagan National Airport, and a lot of the hotels offer a free shuttle. So from the airport. So that was something that we did not have staying in the city, and we had to pay, I think it was like $60 to get from Dulles Airport to our hotel. So that would have been another savings for us. So if we go back, I will definitely look at Arlington. The hotels were cheaper, right by Reagan Airport. I could find all of the things that I wanted with the pool and the breakfast and the kitchen. Not as readily, but I could find them. And that would have been a good thing to do. So, so my tip on that is stay at a hotel with an airport shuttle, or pack super light so that you can take the metro, or be prepared to pay for a private shuttle to take you to wherever you're staying, or stay in Arlington, and then you get lots of great things. Okay, the metro system is amazing there. I was overwhelmed by it at first, and I thought, I had my little app on my phone, City Mapper, and it would say, you need to take the blue line to go here or whatever. And I figured out that the blue, the silver, and the orange all basically go the same places. They're just 3 different trains, and sometimes they'll maybe go a little bit farther or not as far, but you don't need to wait specifically just for the blue line. At the metro, they have these smart cards that you use, and it costs $2 a card to get one. So that's just something you're going to lose off the top. But then the metro fees were about $2 each way to get anywhere that you wanted to go. And so we were able to travel into the city for about $2 a person each day, and then $2 coming back home. So again, a huge savings over renting a car for our family. What is that? $4, $16 a day. I can't rent a car and pay for parking for that. So the metro was really cool, and you can also figure out your fare ahead of time. I'll put some information down below, but you can go on WMATA.com, which is the metro website, or you can use City Mapper, the City Mapper app, and it will tell you, okay, you're here and you want to go here. This is how much it's going to cost you to do that. This is how long it will take you. You do pay a little bit of a premium if you go during rush hour times, which would be early morning, or like 5 o'clock. DC is really interesting. We went one morning really early to go to the Supreme Court, and that train was packed going into downtown, and then suddenly there weren't as many people. And they also tend to shut down a little bit earlier. We would see the train busy at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock, where I live, rush hour is 4:30 to 6, and there it seemed to start a little bit early. So that's my fourth tip is about the metro. And I would say also, a lot of people wonder, well, should I load like $20 on my card? How much money should I put on? You can use your credit card at these little kiosks at the metro station. And I would just put enough money on there for you to go for the day and come back. Because like in our situation, we lost a couple dollars because we didn't use it at the end. So you can always pay right before you get on. And I would just make sure that you had enough for whatever your trip was. So if you were going and coming back, make sure you had $5 or whatever on each card. And each person has to have a card. You can't buy one card for your whole family because each person has to tap it so that the fares can be calculated. Okay, my next tip is a really cool thing, and I wish we'd been able to use it more. It just worked out that we didn't, but it's called the DC Circulator. And it's a fairly new busing system that works with those smart cards that you get using the Metro. And it circles around the National Mall and all of the museums and down to the Lincoln Memorial. And it just does, they have routes, you know, that go one way and then the other way and multiple buses. And it costs $1 a ride. It doesn't matter how far you go. So, of course, if you're close, you don't want to get on and pay $1, you know, for just a few blocks. But our very first day of sightseeing, we walked almost 3 miles to the Lincoln Memorial. And had I known differently, instead of just walking there from our hotel, I would have taken the Metro into downtown, done something in downtown, and then gotten on that Circulator bus and ridden it to the Lincoln Memorial, and then ridden it back to the Metro to go home. I didn't know that. I know that now. But the really cool thing about the Circulator, it's air conditioned. I'm not sure if you can eat food on there. I wondered if you could pack a picnic and eat on there and just ride around. But it takes a little bit of a while to get around if there's traffic. So it's a nice break to get out of the hot summer sun and have some air conditioning and just get off your feet for a few minutes. And it's only $1 a person. And again, you can use your smart card from the Metro or you can pay cash. The Metro does not let you pay cash. You have to have a smart card. Okay, my number 6 tip, or my next tip, stay in a hotel that will feed you. Always, always, always stay in a hotel that will give you a free breakfast. And you don't want a free breakfast that's just a donut and a glass of orange juice. You want something that's got some protein, some fruit. Always, always stay in a hotel that will feed you. Our hotel in particular, I knew we stayed at a Residence Inn, and I knew that they offered little like happy hour kind of things in the evening. And some hotels, that's just an hors d'oeuvre or just chips and salsa or whatever. But ours had several nights where we were able to make that into dinner, and it was free. One night they had chicken for chicken sandwiches. I don't remember everything that they had, but unless you have extremely picky eaters, we were able to make that into our dinner. So we had free breakfast and free dinner, which for some of our nights, which was really nice. And with that, you want to try to get a room with a kitchen. The reason I say that is because you're going to have the munchies at night. If you're like us, you don't like to eat out on Sunday, so you might need to eat in your room on Sunday. You might go to a restaurant and have leftovers that you can bring back to your room to eat later. You know, it's nice to come back to have a cold Coke or something in the fridge. So we actually stayed in a hotel that had a kitchen, and I had planned all these grand plans of cooking. My daughter's laughing. These grand plans of cooking, and I went to cook our first night, and I set off the fire alarm in the hotel. Well, it was in our room. It wasn't the whole hotel. And I have to tell you, I mean, it was ridiculous because there wasn't hardly any smoke, and I'm a good cook. But something had just gotten a little too brown on the stove and it set off the fire alarm. And I had to stand out in the hallway and tell people, I'm really sorry. It was just my cooking. But the hotel was really nice about it and we got that resolved.
And the rain.
But my husband told me, never again are you cooking in a hotel. We are only using the microwave. So we did that from then on and that was fine. But yes, make sure that you have your food covered, whether they're feeding you or you can have a kitchen where you can have food there. Try to do that. Okay, my daughter just mentioned the rain. Okay, so
We forgot to bring an umbrella.
yes, so you would think, because it's 99 degrees and super humid and super sunny, that there would be no need for an umbrella. And I had heard people say, take an umbrella. I thought, take an umbrella. So I listened to the take your walking shoes. I listened to the take sunscreen, take water bottles. make sure you have good shoes. But I thought the umbrella thing was really stupid. Well,
Wrong.
I was wrong, as my daughter is saying in the background, because it rained nearly every day. And this was the end of June, and it was hot. So it was so rainy that our hotel actually had a loaner umbrella program where they would let you borrow umbrellas to take with you to go sightseeing. So I would suggest if you're going to go, and we had to haul these big umbrellas around because that's what the hotel had. So I would suggest if you're going to go that you buy the little compact umbrellas, at least have one for every 2 people, and you can have those, just pack them in your backpack for the day and be great. We actually walked a mile the first night we were there, exploring the city and trying to find groceries and things in the rain because we didn't know about the umbrella loaner program. And when we got back to the hotel, we were soaked. And the doorman was like, "How far did you walk?" And you could tell they were just laughing like, these rookie people. But we had it down after that. And the other thing, if you have the umbrella, it's so darn hot. You can put the umbrella up to give you some shade because there aren't always places with shade. And yeah. Okay, so I mentioned the water bottles, walking shoes, and the ice pack. And I've seen some of these backpacks that are actually for carrying cold items. We took a backpack each day with us that would have stuff in it that we needed. But it was like $4 to buy a cold water at the National Mall. And they knew it, and they knew they had us over a barrel because we were hot. And in that case, we needed some change, and they said you have to buy something to get change. So if you could take something to keep water cold, I would suggest doing that. Okay, this is getting really long, I'm sorry. My next tip is don't overplan your days. So I had hoped that we would go to at least 3 Smithsonians, and we would maybe go to the National Archives, and we would do all sorts of things. And we had to be really flexible with what we did. I have some mobility issues and my feet are not great. And so the walking got really hard on me. And the rest of our family, except for my husband who exercises all the time, struggled also with the walking. Now we did it, and we saw some amazing things, but there was no way that we were going to last the whole day with the hot sun, lack of cold water,
hurting
shoes that didn't necessarily fit well. Thank you to my youngest, and just walking so much, you're tired, and those museums are huge. So make sure that you don't overplan your day and be flexible in what you do. I didn't make it to the National Archives. I really wanted to, but there were only 2 things I wanted to see there, and they were the 2 most popular things, and I heard there was a huge line. So for me, it wasn't worth the battle to go do that. I saw plenty of other great things. Okay. Finally, going back to make sure you're fed. Use Amazon grocery delivery. If you stay in Arlington, some of the hotels will drive you to the local Costco there. Costco in the city also has a delivery program. You can have food delivered to your room within just a couple hours, and that's a really great thing. Do you have any other tips, Mel?
I don't know.
I say just try to have fun. If you have a whole agenda of 45 things to do and your kids are tired, it's not going to be fun. They're going to be tired, complaining, all of that. So I would just say, just have fun. Try to see some highlights. We got to be in the Supreme Court.
And go to the Shake Shack.
I'll tell them that in just a minute. We got to be in the Supreme Court. They were having a public day, I don't know, when they read the verdict on 2 cases, which is not something that happens very often, and we found out about it the night before, and we were in the Supreme Court with all the justices there, and
one of them looks like half asleep.
Got to see them read the verdict on these 2 cases and then the dissenting argument. Now, my youngest was bored. She literally was snoring in the Supreme Court. But the rest of us were fascinated. It was fascinating to be there and to see all of it and to listen and all of that. And I'll do another video on that because this is way too long, and I'll try to give you some tips on that. But make sure you do something that each person in your group would enjoy. Now, if you ask most of us what we enjoyed the most, we'll probably tell you the Supreme Court. But my youngest,
Shake Shack.
she loved this restaurant called the Shake Shack. And if you have the chance to check it out, they have really delicious sauce, cheese sauce that they put on their fries. It was really good. Overpriced. They're overpriced, but it was good. And make sure, one more tip, make sure you budget some money to do some fun things. One day, there's a lot of free things there, and that's great. And you've spent a lot of money to get there. You're spending a lot of money for your hotel. You paid money to get into the city. But one day it was extremely hot, and my husband made us walk a few blocks farther, and we got to go have a cold ice cream. And even though it was overpriced, and I probably would have never paid for that any other day, that was something that was great for that day. It was hot, and it was a special treat. Another thing we did, we splurged and went to the Spy Museum. And that was fun. The other museums are really fun, and there's a lot to learn and whatever. But there is something to be said about going to something off the beaten path. And the Spy Museum was busy, but it was really fun if you like James Bond and spy movies and all those kinds of things. You would love it. So I guess my biggest tip is listen to your group. Do things that would be fun for you. Yes, you want to get the historical stuff in for your kids, but also let them have some downtime. Don't go all day long. Let them go back to the hotel and just play on their iPad. Let them go swimming, which my children never did, and yet I got a hotel with a pool. Let them have some downtime because those are the things that they'll remember too. So I hope that this helps you. If you have any questions, just leave them down below. I will do a video on a couple other things of how to get into places and things like that, but I just wanted to give you some general tips here. And so if you've made it all the way to the end, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you've not yet subscribed to my channel, be sure and do so. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And until next time, make it a great day. Bye.